Those of you who are unaware, Cirencester Chamber of Commerce, the Future-Proof Your Business initiative earlier this year. Sorry, I forgot to put my teeth in this morning. And in that, we've got an information guide to help businesses sort of understand how they can have a more positive impact on the environment and on society. And in that, we're also trying to signpost people to sources of information and support. And we're going to be adding in some case studies as well around that. And then to sort of supplement that, we're running these lunch and learn sessions, which are once a month on the last Tuesday of each month. And we're inviting specialists in the field to come along and talk to chamber members and anybody else who's interested to see how they can have a more positive impact on the world around them. So I'm introducing in a moment to Richard. Richard Dodd is from Wildwood Ecology. He helps architects and their clients giving advice and expertise on ecology and biodiversity. So Richard's going to talk to us today about the importance of biodiversity, but also what's being done to address restoration and how businesses locally can make a difference. We've also got on the call, these are our team from Cirencester Chamber of Commerce Future-Proof Your Business initiative. So it's me, we've got Nick Hunt, who is a consultant, ESG consultant with Elephant's Child, and Fran Coulter, who runs financial advice and support. So I'll let them all say hello in a minute if they want to, or join in later. Okay, I think I will stop sharing and hand over to you, Richard, when you're ready.
Okay. Just make sure I've got the right screen. Share sound. Okay, so the obligatory question, you can see the whole screen now. Is that okay?
Brilliant.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Claire. Yeah, so as introduction says, I'm Richard Dodd. I'm the managing director here at Wildwood Ecology, but you can also see we do arboriculture as well. So I'm going to go through talk a little bit. It's in two parts, my presentation, this little sort of workshop as well, about a little bit about what we do as ecologists and arboriculturists, and also our journey in terms of our business, in terms of the development, the growth of the business. Particularly, I'll be talking about our involvement with as a B Corp as well. So we were the first B Corp, ecological consultancy B Corp within Europe. Sorry, within the UK, not Europe. Yeah, that's a bit too grandiose. Within the UK, and just a little bit about why we went through that journey and what it means to us as a company, as individuals within that company, and also a little bit about promotion about B Corp, because it is also B Corp month. So without further ado. Right, so biodiversity, and let's put it into context. You've probably seen all the David Attenborough films and documentaries, and maybe even watching Wild Isles at the moment. And a lot of the information there, the reason why Wild Isles was created is just to bring it a little bit more home in terms of, we talk about global loss of biodiversity and what is biodiversity, and it gets intermixed with the words nature and wildlife, and biodiversity tends to get it seems to be like a bit more of a, let's say, grandiose sort of title. But the upshot is that in the UK we have an amazing range of wildlife, but unfortunately we've only probably got about 53% of what we used to have within our sort of within the UK itself. And there are many different drivers for that. So we've got climate change is one. We've also got habitat loss, so through development work. We're also farming and agriculture. Overfishing, those are sort of the main ones we can see. Also, there's introductions in terms of invasive species, so whether they be invasive animals or particularly invasive plants as well. So our native wildlife is under pressure, but we can also have a conversation about what actually is native as well, because for instance, when do we stop saying that when something becomes endemic within our country, within the UK? For example, like rabbits. Rabbits were introduced to the UK. Also, they may be beneficial, yet also a pest species can be seen as a pest species, and also, of course, grey squirrels as well. And there's also, in terms of plants, we've got like Himalayan balsam, Japanese knotweed, and the devastation that these can cause to not only our native flora, but also inconvenience to ourselves in terms of maybe if you're undertaking some sort of planning and development, for instance, and you have to remove Japanese knotweed from your site, it can be a pretty much a high economic sort of cost to your development itself. So yeah, we've lost quite a few of our species. 40% of our pollinators have actually on the risk of extinction, and I love butterfly counting, and 50% of our butterflies have also been at risk of being wiped out. So the UK's wildlife and wild places are facing many threats. And as I said, from overfishing and climate change and habitat loss. So that's just an introduction to why I really got involved within ecology and biodiversity. Was I saw this growing up, grew up on a farm, small holding, and very much enjoyed the wildlife on our farm. And talking to my father and other people, we could see that the losses were quite tangible, and every generation starts from a different baseline, so we only see what's in front of us rather than actually looking about the historic sort of changes. So although we may see quite a lot of wildlife on our doorstep, it's not as much as it used to be, and there are so many benefits for having biodiversity as well. And I think businesses also have an impact, whether through purchasing or their activities on biodiversity, on nature itself. So whether it be pollution, whether it be consumption of resources, it all has an impact. So I'm just going to introduce you to a little bit about our company. So it says about there, we are experts in ecological surveys, but also we undertake, say, preliminary ecological appraisals. That's the very basic sort of survey, protected species, mitigation, design and licenses, and biodiversity net gain, which is the one thing that I think most people, it's a big topic at the moment. We're trying to get into what's known as a net gain attitude concept, rather than what's previously, which was like protection. So we're actually trying to restore and enhance areas now. So I think the legislation has helped to change that. So going in terms of the business, we've set ourselves up as a consultancy. We're advisors. We're not enforcers of any wildlife legislation. And in terms of actually train, who we employ, they are ecologists, but also as a business, we have marketing specialists, we have practice manager, we have client engagement managers, we also have a training and development manager. So lots of different areas we need to be involved with in terms of our own business itself. In terms of the growth, we started out. Our company was born in Wales, but we moved. So my wife's from Cirencester, and we moved back to Cirencester back in 2014 and developed the company this area in the southwest now. So in terms of our ecological expertise and arboricultural expertise, we employ people with some sort of environmental science degree. But that's changing as well. We need to make sure that we're just, we're not just trying to get graduates into our company, but also looking at trying to get that talent in terms of, people who have a passion and expertise in certain area for being curious, basically, and wanted to make a difference. So that's the reason why, and one of the things why we became a B Corporation, is to have a sort of a purpose there. But protected species surveys, you need the competencies in order to undertake these surveys, and that includes having a particular license. So it's not only do we need the field skills to go out and look for certain fluffy creatures, but it's also to ensure that we can look at their ecology, and ecology is, the study of life. How do they how do they reproduce? How do they forage and get food, shelter protection, and why are we're set up to actually ensure that there's protection of some of the most vulnerable and threatened species within the UK. And in order to do that, we need to know about their ecology, life cycles, and because some are so rare, we need those licenses as well to handle. So it takes a while to get those skills. As I mentioned, also we do arboriculture, and these are sort of surveys that we get involved with, just in case you wondered what an arboriculturist is. So an arborist, just for those who, an arborist is someone who comes and prunes your tree. Okay, an arboriculturist is someone who assesses it for its health and safety, for instance. So that's through like a tree hazard assessment, and also for planning and development, we have the preliminary arboricultural impact assessment. So those are the sort of things we get involved with, both ecology and arboriculture. We work as Eric, as people from Eric Cole. So we work for architects, planning consultants, and we've won a couple of awards both from CIEM. This is our Chartered Institute of Ecology and Environmental Managers, and also didn't put that one there, actually forgot to do that, but also with the Chamber of Commerce as well. We're also a living wage employer. So I just wanted to run through a little bit about the service. Why does someone get involved with planning and development? And it's usually because they have a project they need to complete. And I'm not going to run through in full detail, but it is a process, and there's a process of what's known as pre-planning. So anything you need to do to actually get your submission, if this is about planning and development, into the local planning authority. And there's various different things there. So we produce reports, secondary surveys, and this is what frustrates a lot of people, that we need to initially go out and find out what's there and then advise upon it, but we don't know everything we're going to come across. So this can frustrate a few people and clients, that we go out there and it's a phase 1 survey, and then all of a sudden we go, actually we found this, or it's likely to be here, and so we have to do secondary surveys. And I can see frustration from some people that it's not just like it's not a tick box exercise. Basically what I'm trying to say is that it's an investigation work we need to go through. So we need to have those things at the back of my mind. So that takes quite a while, and the most important thing, because it's a long process, to appoint someone as early as you can in the design process, because I think that's the most important part. If we're going to help those win-wins, basically, so if we want to ensure that we have a good win for biodiversity, but also clearly the client wants to complete their project, we want to make sure that we can help make sure they get the maximum out of their design, maximum out of their project, rather than trying to shoehorn either some species or some habitat creation onto a site where it's not going to work for the clients. It's not really going to work for biodiversity, and we'd end with a lose-lose scenario, really. So the earliest people can engage with an ecologist is one of the things that, yes, it costs money at the start, but if you're employing someone, you want to make sure they are competent as well, because there's any trade, any service, clearly there's going to be people who can undertake the preliminary surveys, but we sort of earn our bread and butter because we can see the project from right at the very start, right to the very end. And that's important for consistency, and to ensure that we got those licenses in place and we can actually deliver. So it's one of those things that's it seems like a large upfront cost, but it's I think what we'd say is value for money. Everything's done. Once that's completed, we go into the planning stage, and then the client gets the development on. But there's also, doesn't stop there. There may be also some post-development requirements as well. So it's quite a complex thing. It's not just trying to find, complete a survey and say a tick box, but it actually is looking at the whole journey throughout that, and also post-planning is important. So, and there are quite a few sort of different constraints for that. I'll say I'm not going to run through the whole thing, but there's different elements that we have to get involved with and obviously train for, and making sure we do have the competency within our company. Another constraint, is the time of year that some of these wildlife come out. So there's only a certain amount of time of the year we can actually undertake certain surveys. So, for instance, if we're undertaking an otter survey, we got all year. We can do that any time of the year. But when we come in to undertake maybe a bat emergent survey, we're limited to the months really of May to August for activity surveys. Although, as climate change does have an impact, we may be able to start a little bit earlier or certainly later on. It's very rare we would go into April. It's more than likely we're shifting towards the September, October completion dates now. So we've noticed that we rarely start now before April in any surveys there. So one thing, because there's a big this high demand for our services in those particular months, trying to get hold of an ecologist is quite challenging. If you do know you're having a project, or you want to work on or you know someone who does, make sure they do seek out the services of an ecologist as early as they can, because it can be frustrating trying to find someone when we're all busy. Just for instance, we're fully booked up until mid-June now for bat emergent surveys. We can't take anyone on for those ones. Other services, yes, but bat surveys, no. So that's give you an idea about the services that we do, but this can happen, as I say, as part of our whole team. So we are up to 20 people within the business itself, and as I say, it's not just ecologists or arborists within a company. As I say, we do have obviously marketing and finance administration, and also client engagement managers and training and development people as well. So it's as well as a subcontractor network. So it's a very much a team effort, and I just wanted to run through. So now a little case study, just to put all that what we just talked about into context about how we deliver it and why we deliver it, and just to give you an idea of sort of complexities we deal with on a sort of day-to-day basis, and the reasons why. I say engagement is required early, competency is extremely important, but also communication. Communication is key, in any consultancy, but in our case, it is about liaising with a variety of different stakeholders, whether they be the client themselves, contractors, as in demolition contractors, architects, planning consultants, the whole range of different people, statutory bodies. So I just wanted to introduce you to this is a site in Wales. So anyone would like to have a guess how to pronounce that? So this is Llywyn Celyn. This is a place in Abergavenny, so just inside the Brecon Beacons National Park Authority. And I just want to introduce you to our project here when we work with our client, the Landmark Trust. So just bear in mind a couple of those photographs there. On the left is the before, and then the right is on the after. So our site was it's a working sheep farm, dairy, and a sheep farm, various different buildings here. The main one is the main house and the cow shed we'll be looking at, but there's also other different buildings there, so the beast house and threshing barn and so forth. So this is very much the site as we found it back in 2013, 2014, and the scaffolding there was to protect the roof. This was before any work commenced. This was not part of the development. The house, this extremely rare example of a medieval farm, and obviously it's been built over the years, in a sense of a state of ruinous state, and the sort of sheeting there was to protect the roof. There's just leaking. It's just leaks everywhere. Inside, where this was also occupied. It wasn't abandoned. People, the farmers, the two farmers themselves were living in these conditions themselves. Obviously, we removed a bit of furniture, but the hallway in the top left-hand corner there, they walked along. That's their corridor. Just off to the right there was one of their bedrooms, and this is the conditions they lived in. And then, hence, the Landmark Trust was really interested in this property and bought it. So, what we're dealing with here is an extremely vulnerable, threatened historic building and series of buildings on a farmstead, which what you can see in the fire grate, for instance, that's a lot of bat droppings, and along that corridor there's a lot of bat droppings, extreme rare species there. We've also got nesting birds and including barn owl. So the challenges to us were to identify the species present in a hazardous environment, but also dealing with some very rare protected species on site. So in liaison with the architect drew up some plans, and we came with initial design. And in the green there, you can see that this was the first draft, trying to retain the bats in the area where we found them, which is exactly what what we call a mitigation hierarchy should say. Avoidance is the best practice. So we're trying to avoid any disturbance, but obviously with this building to restore it, we needed to do that. So keeping them in the same area was our first choice. But the development really took off. They wanted exposed, they found a solar complex within the building and a rare sort of interesting architectural features, which basically means we couldn't keep the bats where we wanted to keep the bats. So we had to look for alternative locations for them. And this was in to the rear of the building on the northern sort of side. And so we created a different area, and you can see there that they sort of had the whole of the upper floor area and also part of the ground floor aspect too. So it's identifying that, and that took quite a few months, discussions with planning authorities, liaising with the clients, the architects, everything, because it had to be making sure you work for the Landmark Trust, because they're going to rent these properties out. So there's quite a few different challenges here, but also to ensure that these vulnerable, threatened species can also be included onto the site. Now, we had the best policy, and one of the cheaper options is to actually retain the species on site. Yes, we could have built a bat house externally, but the risk there was as right at the very start, we're destroying an animal's habitat or a home, but we're not actually, they have to find it themselves. It's like us demolishing a building. I built you a brand new house. Here's a set of keys, but I'm not going to tell you where it is. And this is the challenge that we have with wildlife. That's we can build the best mitigation compensation sites, but they may not use it at all. So, ensuring that we can have something on site is going to be the best policy. So we try to retain them within the building itself. And development work carried on, commenced, and should we say, and beautiful Welsh slate are working with, actually mashed the crafts folk onto the building. So this is like a proper Welsh slated roof. We're working with masonry, working with very different timescales, but we're working with the Welsh weather as well. So it's really quite challenging there. So and also you can see there's a little bit of plastic on the floor there, because we're expecting some bats to actually use that building, and they do make mess. So we're actually making sure that it's a little bit of future proof for the building, so it's not seeping through the floorboards, because obviously bat poo and bat wee can make a bit of a problem. So we've got the building there, and that's great. We've built it all. Now the second part of this was actually to get the bats into this new house. So even though it's right next door to them, lesser horseshoe bats, which is what we have here, are very, very much sort of a folk. They love where they are. They put up with a lot of disturbance, and so we had to encourage them into their new place. So even though building was going on into some of those sections of the main house itself, we've got jackhammers going, we've got people walking through there. These bats will still hang up and still come back to that location. They may fly around the house a couple of times during when they're being worked, that was working there, but they were not using the the site itself. And so we had to encourage them, and using what's in the middle there, it looks like the blue columns. We had to include what's known as a exclusion device. So we had to come up with that. We had to problem solve, going, how do we get these bats from this building into the safe zone? And that window in the bottom left-hand corner there, that's the window where they could easily fly in and out of. That's the new mitigation routes, but they didn't want to. They were so used to where they were. Our last task was to get them into the new house, seal up that window, work commence, and they wouldn't be disturbing bats. So, disturbance of a bat is a criminal, unlawful activity, but we had a license for this site. So we had to do that itself. And also part of dealing with a license and a statutory body is that they needed to, before we could seal it up, we needed to demonstrate that they were using it. And in the top right-hand corner there, you can see there's a couple of droppings. Those little black things there are bat droppings, but 1 to 2 bat droppings doth not a bat roost make. And the statutory body were not satisfied that we'd done enough to actually get them in. So we use that exclusion device, and then a bit later on, boom, they got the bats in there. You can see that there's quite a few. We've increased there's a lot more evidence in there, going from like 2 to 3 droppings to about a couple of thousand within that roof space itself, and that was over one summer period. And on the right hand side, you can see our we also had to put some lesser horseshoe bats tend to stick to flight lines, hedgerows. They fly quite low to the floor, so we couldn't have something really, really high up because then they would be exposed to predation. So we put in a new hedgerow, a couple of holly trees there. So there's a lot of different problem solving along the way, a lot of communication. Us being brought in early on this stage really did help, but also having people who understood the significance of the species, the biodiversity on their site, and wanted to help solve both the problems, which is restoring an historic building, but also ensuring that biodiversity is taken into full consideration. And so the numbers really, really rocketed. So back in 2018, we had 16. Well, before that, we had I think about 12 bats. But you can see in 2021, rocketed up to 146 bats emerging from this building. This was a total success, and it was down to, I say, that communication between everyone. Everyone wanted to work for the right cause. Every time I turned up on site, talking to the carpenters and the masons, everyone was asking about the bats. They really took a vested interest in there. Now, not every site can be like that, but it was really nice to see. The good practice principles. So how do we do this? We apply what's known as the mitigation hierarchy, which is try to avoid anything as possible. If you can't avoid, mitigate, compensate, or offsetting. Or you can read the rest of the note there as well. But I think we have really created a net gain legacy on here. I'm just focused on the bats, but there's also, different range of birds on site. There's other species of bat on the site. We had eight species of bat on site we had to deal with, and they all have a different ecology. Sustainability, using the material on site was increasingly important for the Landmark Trust, our clients, as well, but also sympathetic use of material on site for the wildlife, the biodiversity too. So that's really, really good. And I just wanted to play a very quick clip. Hopefully you can, I don't know if you can hear that.
Yep, that's fine.
So that was just a little quick clip. Imagine 146 emerging from there. So that's pretty good itself. But a success story, and that lovely noise they make, that little warbling, very distinctive of the lesser horseshoe bat themselves. And so the end product was a wonderful property. If Landmark Trust would, I'm sure, encourage you to visit the site as well. So it's a beautiful setting in Abergavenny itself. So that's the first half of the presentation. The next half, which I say we can come to questions. If there's any questions at all at the moment about the biodiversity side, we can pause there. But I'm going to go into the business side now for us. So business and biodiversity. So that's what we do, and we're really good at it, and we're passionate about what we do. But as a business, a few years ago, I'm the managing director. I'm the the only shareholder within the company itself, and we loved what we did, but we didn't have a full purpose, so shall we say. So we knew we wanted to do lots of back work, but also wanted to actually create a company and direct the company into an area where we did actually make a lot more of a difference. And COVID gave us a lot, and that was for me, it was a lot of time to read. So literally I did start with why. So read with Simon Sinek's book, but these three books really changed what my sort of a perception of business and what I wanted to try to create with the company itself. And this helped me sort of lean into my my values. What were they? So what are why are they important to me? Why are they important to everyone within my company? And so I just started on this journey of a lot of reading, a lot of listening to listening to different podcasts, and talking to other people, having a mentor. That really did feature within what I was trying to create within the company itself. That led to us actually having our vision. So actually having sort of a real purpose of why we wanted to do the things we do, basically. And also, I mean, to draw people in, both for clients, but also particularly about we have a lot of recruitment issues within our sector. There's a lot of people leaving during COVID. We've lost a lot of people during that period of time, and trying to recruit senior. I mean, I'm sure this will resonate with other people as well. That getting people on their early as like an assistant level, an apprentice, not too bad. People want that work, but when it comes to senior level with all that experience there, when you lose it, it's really difficult to replace. Because you can't just slot someone in, and you can only do that if people are willing to come to your company, or there is that resource pool there. So we had faced a really huge challenge in 2020-21 when we lost a couple of senior people, and we've learned from that the reasons why those people have left, but also having some sort of purpose for the company itself. So not just to be able to do good work is not good enough. There has to be a reason why someone would want to work for you. So we also had our values, which and both these vision and values. Initially, it was something that I created as the director, but it quickly became apparent that we have to all share our vision and our values. And the vision and values have they've been changed about 3 or 4 times over the past 4 to 5 years, and to complete buy-in, everyone has put into we've designed these ourselves. So this is not something that is just me, it's all of us that have created this vision and values, and we all agree upon it. So I think that gives a better buy-in in terms of for our employees, in terms of retaining people within the company itself. Another journey that really we went on, and I don't know if anyone's considering or has actually heard about B corporations, but we were doing a lot of, so going back to that Simon Sinek book, for instance, we were doing a lot of things that we thought were important to us. And a chance event at I think it was at a home builders exhibition in London back in 2017, I think it was. So talked to a company. They were making bird and bat boxes. Talked to them, and they noticed about their B corporation, and we had got chat about what that actually meant. And so I investigated this, and we were doing a lot. We were doing a lot of the things they need as a B corporation, that you go through this impact assessment with them, and it just resonated. I think actually there's a lot of things that are there that we do already, but also there's a lot of things that we need to do. We need support on that in terms of our image, why we're doing what we do, but also improvements in all the different areas. Now, B corporation, it doesn't just evaluate a product or service, but it assesses the overall social and environmental impact of a business itself. So it's looking at that, as he says there, governance, workers, community, environment. So all these different areas that we need to have a look at. We have to have the documentation in there, which is, we had quite a few things already in place, but I think this hones it in a little bit. And the overall impact score we can see there, and as an average company, a median company would score about 50.9 on the within the all these different areas. The B Corp, the minimum requirement is 80 points and a score of 80 on the going through the impact assessment itself. When we first certified with the B Corporation as a B Corp, we scraped in, and this is apparently quite common, we scraped in, for those who do get there, at 80.6, a score of 80.6. And we recertified last year, 2022, and we've improved our score to 84. Now, the scores, I say there's no need to be a B Corp. There's no incentive for us to be one. There's no, I mean, it's not as if we need like a for health and safety, we may join a particular recognized sort of level for instance, like I'm trying to think of an example now, but with health and safety, there's certain levels we need to improve, like construction health and safety, certification and qualifications. With a business, you don't need to. There's no need for you to reach a certain level, but this is purely voluntary. But it's something that I think has helped us find out why we're doing a lot more of what, have a purpose, should we say, and also have a conversation with our clients about why we're doing it, and equally so about I say recruitment. It's really, I mean, people. When we do an interview, when we do like onboarding of our new recruits, for instance, we ask them, so why Wildwood Ecology, and I think we've just got a very good reputation in terms of our sort of ethical stance. There's certain things we won't do as an ecological consultancy, but there's a lot we do, want to do, and passionate about it. But I'm happy to talk about any of those different areas, what we worked on, the documentation that helped us go through these different stages. Which ones we focused upon. For instance, customers is the one we're focused upon in 2023. So we need to improve our score upon there. But environment, strangely, we did quite well on the environment sections, their impact areas there. Obviously we're trying to restore biodiversity loss, which helps that area, and of course workers, the living wage helps, but also the different sort of different sort of benefits that employees have working for a B corporation, and the whole process has enabled us to actually hone in those different areas. Sometimes I wouldn't have heard about some of these these wonderful areas to actually improve upon, and like obviously well-being is certainly increased over the past. Well, it wasn't even a word about 10 years ago within our company, but now we have well-being champions for and mental first aiders within the company itself. We've got although I am a white male, I am the only senior male representative of our company, so it's just looking at different sort of diversity and inclusion within our company that has helped and enabled us to actually grow more as well. And just to finish off, some take-home messages that I think we've for us is, first of all, and this is regards to our services about ecology, but also for businesses as well, is to be proactive in terms of choosing an ecologist, appointing early, not waiting for that bad news to hit the door, and then be reactive about what you need to do about it. Also, to ensuring that when you do consider employing an ecologist or environmental champion, is to consider their competency. So can they may be able to do a task A, the early stages, really, really well, but they'll have to hand off the project because it gets a bit complex, or they haven't got the licenses a bit further on, and that causes extra, so someone being passed on a project, as many of there is a learning exercise to be taken into consideration, and that costs, it does cost in terms of time and hence money as well. So if you can keep the same team going throughout the whole project, it makes it a whole lot easier. seeking out win-wins, yep, for both biodiversity and for business, and that may be for you as the client, the project itself, but also us as business owners, managers, and employees. Why do we come to work every day? Why do we do what we do? And biodiversity is in everything. It affects food, it affects water, the different natural resources we have as well. So, if you are, farming on agricultural land, for instance, and that land gets developed in terms of for housing, which we do need, that is a loss of the habitat, that certain wildlife will actually be using. So it's being smart about our land use, about our habitat loss, and how we incorporate biodiversity within these designs themselves. So this biodiversity net gain is going to be taking certainly into impact in effect over the next and it comes into effect within what's known as the Environment Act in October this year. And finally, committing to setting targets for nature, so reducing your impact over time. So we all know about the climate emergency, and our journey to net zero and reducing carbon emissions. But one thing that really does get overlooked, and it is they're two sides of the same coin, interdisciplinary, which is impacts on for climate change also have impacts upon biodiversity too. So you can actually double up, your positivity in terms of climate change and biodiversity by ensuring that your business is future ready. Ensuring that the products and services you buy are from sustainable providers and suppliers. And I think that's another, reason that, we should question businesses. Why do they, what is it they can do for us, rather than just providing a simple service or a product? What goes behind that? Why is it at this particular cost? What do they, what additionality can they create as well? And I think this is some of the conversations which, we quite welcome. So that's it from me. Happy to field questions, whether it be from our operational side, from the ecological side, or from our business side about the journey we've gone through in terms of our B Corporation, but also the elements within that certification too. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Richard. That was absolutely fascinating, and really loved the way that you took us into your business and how you work and the whole sort of B Corp process. I think when we were chatting yesterday, it can be a bit overwhelming to people, but showing how that actually integrates into your business and the benefits that gives to your clients and your suppliers and your employees and so on. So that's great. I've got a couple of questions, but I'll open the floor first to see if anybody's got anything they'd like to jump in with.
I was just wondering what Richard enjoyed the most out of all the different parts of the business he described.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so I suppose gone on a journey. When I first started, it definitely was the field. Going out and doing the field surveys. Absolutely loved going out and just getting outside and it's being like a detective. You're going out there trying to find something, whether the client wants it or not. You're trying to find something using your skills. I think that's it. Going back to my values, one of my values is achievement. So I know if I find something, that taps right into my value, so I've actually found something. But that was the early part of there, and unfortunately stepping back a little bit now, what I really love is just seeing that my team grow. I think that's it. It's building up that team there, problem solving with them, in terms of making them, develop them as individuals, seeing them manage teams and lead other people, and me letting go of the vine, I think, is one of the terms they think they use in Good to Great, and I think that would definitely resonate with that really. Yeah.
Thank you.
Richard, I've got a question. Firstly, thank you for a really interesting presentation, and great to hear about your B Corp journey as well. And I'm always fascinated to hear about people's experiences with that. But as a sort of small business going through the early stages of that journey, obviously no light undertaking to go through the process, but was that something that you found useful in terms of kind of growing your own thinking about your business as much as you did actually achieving the accreditation itself? Oh,
absolutely, yeah. It's definitely it's the whole journey. So it's like I had an idea of what a B Corporation is and does, but I would never underestimate the power of naivety. Really is, because I think I mean, again, achievement value is just literally, I just wanted to do it, get on with it and be proactive. I think that's another part of it. Just get on, do it. And once you get in there, it's a challenge. You go, oh, actually, we don't do that. We need to do. It helps you understand the different parts of every part of your business. So if you don't know your business now, by the end of the journey, whether or not you certify or not, you will be a better person because you understand what makes your business today, and maybe hopefully also what you want to achieve tomorrow for it as well. So I think I found the whole process really challenging. I mean, we were in a small company when we started. I think we had 8 employees at that point, but literally you can be a B corporation with 2 or more employees, I believe. I don't think it's just 1, but I think it's 2 or more. And to be honest, it's probably easier as a small company compared with, clearly, if you've got part of a multiple group, for instance, because there's different stakeholders you need to get involved with. And if you are the main person, obviously you go to talk to your employees about it. But if you're the main person, the main driver, the champion, I think it's a lot easier than if you've got like 5 people on your board that you need to go and seek approval from for every single document. That's
great. Great to hear your experience. Thanks, Richard.
Are you finding on that, Richard, on the B Corp certification, that you're having more conversations with clients or with people in your network about this? Are you seeing it bringing in more positives for your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that yeah, in terms of why I went for a B corporation, and I'm just come back to that question, is that we didn't do it to win more business. Okay, so if you want to win more business, don't do the journey. I think you have to go in with the right mindset, but we're definitely having a lot more conversations with people. I think we explore the opportunity to talk about B Corp as much as we can, and a lot of our clients have never heard of B Corps at all. But now, of course, on every single quotation we release, it's a slowly little bit sinking in, and about what and sometimes we do now have the conversation about, oh yeah, you're B Corp. First question is, what is it and why do you do it? And then, but we're having conversations now about, oh, we're interested in doing that now. Can you help us? So from it's not my business to I've got no incentive to actually get more B Corps within the UK. But it's something I'm quite passionate about in terms of it's better for business, doing something that's sort of a right for businesses, really, and that whole sort of the whole overview of what we do and how we can make a difference.
Perhaps I have a question for Richard. That's okay. Thanks for a great talk on that. Again, just on the B Corp, clearly you're the sort of managing director and are the champion of the initial journey. I guess the question is, how quickly did the staff come on board, and are you still the champion? Or, I mean, you've got the owner manager work ethic of it will be my vision, and maybe that dilutes at an employee level, but I just wondered how they adapted and whether that you are still the entire champion.
Yeah, no, we've got so our client engagement manager, so everyone has a different responsibility within the B Corp area. So for instance, one of the areas there is workers, and so we have regular meetings in terms of so initially it was about wellbeing days, volunteer days, reason why we're a living wage employer, all those conversations with our pension providers. It really makes you think about absolutely everything. Why do we? I mean, our let's look at people who provide our mobile phones. This is a fair phone, and it's on an honest mobile contract. It thinks about the laptop I'm on. The monitors we have are all through our supply chain that we've considered. Making sure that they are remanufactured. They're not. We're not using new machines. Some of our machines are new, but laptops are new, but majority are actually remanufactured. So we have conversations with all our people. Everyone has to buy into it because it's important to us as a company, and it can't just be me. You're right, because at some point I will leave this company, whether I want to or not. We should all have a succession plan in place. Whether or not, as I say, I mean, that's something that I'm quite big on really at the moment. So I'm currently developing our continuity and succession plan for the company.
Okay.
I've got another quick question. Are you aware of any sort of biodiversity projects in this area that businesses get involved in to support, either sort of through time or through resources?
Yeah, I think go back to like what is it you want to achieve. So for us, I'll give you an example of what we get involved with. So on our community days, volunteer days, which again, it's one of those things you can have forced fun. So we are very aware that sometimes it's like, right, you will go and be volunteer this day, but I've got so much work to do. No, you've got to go and volunteer. No, people have the option to do volunteer days or not. What we spend our time on, people can volunteer on anything and everything. So it doesn't have to be something that we, the company, have organised. It's what the individual has organised. So we work with the Stroud Valleys project, for instance. So we're cleaning up the canals around here. Yes, we work. You know, a lot of us also undertake volunteer activities with like wildlife trusts, also RSPB, and other nature-related conservation charities, but also a couple of our people work at with the community housing projects over in Stroud, where we have an office, and a lot of our people come from as well. But also I'm also particularly for me, I'm a STEM ambassador. So I've been into like primary schools and secondary schools delivering projects because no one's ever heard of an ecologist. People have heard of veterinaries, vets, and strangely zookeepers, but an ecologist, is something that is not on people's career path, radar. So I tend to go into, my passion is about getting more ecologists within our profession, regardless of their career, academic career, because I say a lot of it time we need a graduate to come on board, but you don't need to have a degree to count butterflies, for instance.
I might be putting my hand up soon for a volunteer for your business.
More than welcome. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing those books in your slides. I think there's always good to have resources of extra learning and extra reading. Are there any online resources that you would point businesses towards if they wanted to learn more about biodiversity?
Oh, about biodiversity? Well, a big shout out for my own podcast. So the Ecology Academy. So I've run that one, and so that's good insight into what we do as ecologists. But we have conversations with different people involved in those areas, from careers through to obviously practicing as well. But I'm a bit of a bore. Most of my podcasts tend to be also business related. Yeah, I mean, and about systems and processes. So yeah, I'm a great night out if you come out with me. Let's talk about systems and processes. I think in terms of reading material, Rewilding, that is a really fantastic book. Anything by George, I'm going to get his name incorrect. Ferrell. Ferrell is a fantastic read as well. For about say. About rewilding. That's a new term. It's a new term, rewilding. Just basically means leaving things and not doing anything to it. In its basic format, I'm sure people rewilding, recreating habitat will totally go, no, there's a lot more to it than that. Well, there is, yeah. But reintroduction programs. So Derek Gow, there's a book on with him about again about rewilding, but particularly about beaver reintroduction. And why beaver are, so well, there goes my mug. So about reintroduction of beaver in Wales, but obviously other areas within the UK too. Yeah, and that's. Yeah, I think that's. I think those are all my resource materials. I'm just trying to go through my the one podcast I really recommend, just because of nerdiness, really, is one called it's called Work Life by Adam Grant, or with Adam Grant. It's a TED talk, but Work Life with Adam Grant. I think Adam Grant he's like my hero. Adam Grant, you know, Simon Sinek to a degree, but yeah, Adam Grant is fantastic. So a couple of these books, Give and Take, is a fantastic read too.
The Optimism podcast.
Oh, I missed that, Claire. Sorry, when was it?
The Outrage and Optimism podcast.
No.
Yeah, they're another great one, and that's Tom Rivet-Carnett and Christina Figueres, who did the 2015 Paris Agreement. But
yes.
they look at there's all different sectors, energy and employment and so on. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Richard. That was absolutely fantastic. We really appreciate you coming along. Hopefully you can all see that we've got a couple more coming up in the next couple of months. Just press the right button. Okay. So our next one is on the 25th of April, and we have Alex Davies from Elephant's Child coming along to present to us then. And then in May, we've got Howard Smith from Number Crunchers giving some sort of easy steps for businesses to start with, if they're brand new to everything. And then anybody who wants to see the Chamber's Future Proof Your Business Guide, the link is on here. But we will also put the recording from this, and Richard, if you're happy to share your slides, we can incorporate those and make those available to anybody afterwards as well.
Sure.
I've got a couple of things, a couple of thank yous in the chat, so if you want to have a look at those, and I will stop my sharing. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate everybody's time.
Thanks very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Nice to see you.